This is the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we teach you the proven methods to grow your seven-figure business to 10 million and beyond. Please welcome your host, Brett Gilliland.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast. As you know, we bring in amazing guests who bring a unique perspective to the seven-figure growth journey challenges and breakthroughs, frankly. And today is no exception. We have Preston with us. He is the founder of several businesses. We talked about this ahead of time, and we're not going to get into all of those. We're going to mention a couple of them, but Preston Brown is a serial entrepreneur. He's a speaker. He's a multiple eight-figure business owner, specializing in disruptive innovation and profitability scaling companies. When we were talking before this started, he said, look, really, I'm an economist. I'm a self-made business person, and I love social psychology. I'm a good social psychologist. So I'm going to quit talking about him. I'm going to bring him on here. Preston, thank you for making time to be with us today.
Brett, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So the two businesses out of the many that you started that you said, yeah, we could talk about those really quick would be Zia Homes, and then the Your Best Life, which was a travel agency for high net worth individuals.
Yeah, it's like a membership club for millionaires and billionaires that want to travel the world and literally have everything put together for them and just be part of a mastermind of like-minded individuals who are also doing epic shit.
Which is amazing. Okay, so I'd love to, we don't have time for it in this podcast, but I'd love to hear some stories of the people who are part of that membership and some of the experiences. I imagine that is a fantastic an eclectic group of people who are doing cool stuff. So might have to have you back for that. But today, really want to focus on your own journey in growing through stages of business growth. I know you have some stages that you referred to in the entrepreneurial stages. And we just want to talk about this journey from 1 to 10 million and some of the things that would help our listeners, things that have helped you think about that part of growing business and how to get through those times.
Sure, yeah. Well, for I guess the first 10 million, or you want the journey to get to a million, the journey to get from a million to 10 million,
let's focus on the 1 to 10 million, not the startup phase. We could talk for hours about that as well, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the stage where they sort of figured their thing out. The product market fit is there. They know how to get leads. They have an operations thing going, they're fulfilling, but now they're starting to grow and they've got a team of people, and all of a sudden they got to go from entrepreneur to CEO. They have to figure out how to do this business building work of some structure and meeting rhythms and all the stuff to scale the business from 1 to 10. I'd love any insights, any practical experience that you have going through that part of it.
Okay, so I do everything through formulas. Everything. I've got a formula for life. I've got a formula for fitness. I've got a formula for business. And I think if you can't put a formula on it, it's too hard to understand. And complexity is seductive, not productive. Productivity gets you paid. Seductivity may get you something else. And I don't want to get in my business, right? So I'll leave that in my marriage. The formula I would kind of start anyone with in business is there's 7 stages of entrepreneurship. And every stage has a problem that you need to solve. And once you solve it, you get to the next stage. And so I'll just go through them quickly. And I'm gonna breeze real quick through the ones that are kind of before or to that first million. You have the non-starts, the people that want to be an entrepreneur. This is most entrepreneurs actually fit into a non-start category. They have a mindset issue. Why do we call a breakthrough a breakthrough? Well, you got to break some shit. So they need to go break some shit in their mind and find out there's never the right time. It's always the right time. Go now, right? Let's go now. The next stage, once you've started, is the startup. The startup entrepreneur, he's got this big issue, which once you've gotten to any of the stages, you always have to remember all of the stages. I have 18 companies. And anytime I get them all automated, I start another one because I want to be reliving, relearning, and reinvigorating. I've got a pool servicing company. We just started. It's a startup. It's fun. In the startup phase, you think, oh, shoot, well, 50% of companies fail in their first year. Why? Well, if you think customer and then customize, the words are similar for a reason, right? You have to be incredibly exceptional, okay? You have to go find out exactly who your customer is. You cannot serve everybody. Anybody that tries fails. And you have to identify this customer. And once you've identified the customer, You can rinse, repeat enough times, but you get in this habit of being exceptional as a startup. And you normally carry that once you've found that customer into the next phase, where you turn into operational entrepreneur, or if you want to say it politically incorrectly, slave labor. And you are a slave to your business. You are exceptional. You are not optimized, and no different than the engine in your car as an operational entrepreneur. If your engine in your car made an exception on the way to the grocery store, the car dies and you're walking. It's no fun. So you're going fire to fire to fire. Now it's time to optimize the operational entrepreneur. And I think some of your clients are probably there. They're probably in some high income operational entrepreneur situations where it's maybe still a spectator sport, not a team sport. They don't have all the automations. They haven't got the right people, haven't got the right softwares. They haven't found their way to the next stage called entrepreneur. Well, entrepreneur has the exact same revenue as operational entrepreneur, only now you have a team, which means you've got a pay cut. You're paying for software, it's paying for people, you're an entrepreneur. It's a space that you stay in a very short amount of time. And you're like, shoot, how do I get to the next stage? Which, by the way, it's back to slave labor. It's just a better way of slave labor. It's called operational megapreneur. And a megapreneur, this is somebody like when I was a home flipper, okay, operational entrepreneur. I'm bouncing around. Got to entrepreneur, had a team, became a home builder, found out, oh shoot, with a house, I'm peeling back layers of this onion. With a home build, I'm starting from the same blank slate, the same lot every day, and it's just a checklist going up. Well, I could do 500 of those a year, but I could only do 100 flips a year because I got to do the peel back, and there's no way to make it completely consistent, right? So to get out of entrepreneur, once it's automated, your pay cut stage into operational megapreneur, you have to learn the process of scaling. And everybody tries to scale everything at once. Well, what you've done effectively to get into entrepreneur is you've added capacity by bringing in people and ending the spectator sport and making it a team sport. Well, once you've added capacity, and a great book for this is The Goal by Eli Goldratt, then go and add sales, okay? Once you've added sales, you've scaled sales a little bit, well, now it's time to scale brand. Once you've scaled brand, now it's time to scale margin. Once you've scaled margin, now it's time to scale capacity, which means more people, more software, more this, and it's this cycle, but everybody tries all of them at once and they fail. So once you've learned, okay, well, here's the process of scaling, and there's a scaling cycle. I do this first, and this, and this, and this, and this. All of a sudden, an operational megapreneur, you're starting to feel a little bit rich, okay? And then you get into this megapreneur stage, where to go from operational megapreneur to megapreneur, you've done the same thing that you did to get into entrepreneur. You've started getting the high-level management team. A lot of people make the mistake of promoting from within here. Maybe you can, but it's really rare to promote from within here. This is where you're getting your professional management. I cannot tell you how many people I coach that are like, I have a CEO, meet my CEO, and there's like 10 people in the whole company. I'm like, so your chief executive officer, who's the executive? Which one of these people that is making $12 an hour is your executive?
Right.
You don't have a CEO for 10 employees. Okay. And anyway, so you might start with a CFO, and then you kind of go to your COO and CEO, because you should be the CEO. And you're delegating to the COO, right? And your CFO is kind of helping you with all the back end stuff. And you can get any number of like C's and O's, and that middle initial means something. Like, I'm not good on technology. I'll probably be looking at the stage I'm in for a CTO, a chief technology officer, because it's things that are going to kind of complete the circle, right? But to go to that megapreneur stage, you're getting these high level professionals and you're wanting to take them from somewhere else. The last stage, and this is investor philanthropist, the problem you find in megapreneur is, hey, you're free again, but you have this new business partner. It's the United States government. They like to regulate everything you do. They're about 12 feet up, you're 6 foot tall, and you don't like them because they want half your money and they make your life difficult. And so you find a way to go and say, hey, how do the rich not pay their fair share? I keep hearing people complain about this and bitch about this, but there's got to be a legal way to do this. And there's plenty of things that the government wants done that they don't have the money to do, that they need rich people with capital to do. And if you do them the same way that we're going to give stimulus checks and bonus checks to poor people, we're going to give tax breaks to rich people. And when you get into this phase, now you're no longer paying taxes. And if you can avoid the taxation, you've given yourself a 166% growth advantage in the exact same business that the guy that doesn't understand this doesn't know. And this is how you can eventually get to the next stages of investor philanthropist, which is going public, this, that, the other, etc. So this is my 7 stages to entrepreneurial growth. And at every stage, there's a break point where you learn something new to go to the next level.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's focus on that. I think if I captured all of that, which I didn't capture all of it, if I captured part of it, that transition from operational entrepreneur to entrepreneur, maybe that's the place we want to focus a little bit, because we have a lot of folks who I think fit the description you were giving of like I'm the engine. I get stuck. Like maybe I've surrounded myself with a few people. Maybe I have 6, 8, 10 people, but I don't really have a team that's taking stuff off of me completely. I'm giving them tasks, but I still have the weight of responsibility. Every function, all of it's on me. And I need to break out of that and start to, I don't know, in terms I would use is like set a vision with the team, enroll them in the process of co-creating a future, like organize the work, get meeting rhythms in place. So some of that transition there, I'd love your real experience insights to how do you make that shift to where you're not that engine that's, kicking out the check engine light with any exception that comes up.
I love your question so much. And I'm gonna show you something on the screen. Podcasts are not normally visual, but I'll send this to you afterwards. In fact, I'll send you a whole bunch of formula documents afterwards. Okay.
And only a good economist has as many formulas as you do. So I believe you that you're an economist.
So one of the biggest problems we have in society is we think we shouldn't have any problems. Okay. Right. And if you think about what is a sale to your customer, a sale is a solution to the customer's problem. People pay to increase pleasure, remove pain. If I'm removing pain, I have a problem that I perceive that you can solve, and I trust you. I'm going to give you money and you're going to solve it, right? So to go from this operational entrepreneur where you're kind of managing by crisis and get to entrepreneur, or to, be an entrepreneur and have some time, feel like, what do I need to scale? You need to figure out what is my biggest problem. Okay. So I use a formula-driven method where we love and get close to problems. And the more data you can get on the problem, the easier it is to solve. So that formula, which I was showing you, and I'll tell you about, it has 3 goals, okay? And you take a problem and you put it into the top of the formula, and it works as a filter. I don't know if you've ever seen those little things. You put a ball in, there's all these little sticks, and the ball's kind of bouncing around. Yeah. Imagine it that way. And you take your problem, the biggest one you have, because normally that biggest problem creates 10 or 12 other little ancillary problems that orbit it, and you drop it in the top. And you say, okay, well, the 3 goals are alignment, simplicity, and foresight, okay? And foresight, I would say there's 4 goals if the company's large enough. If you're over 25 million in revenue, then alignment, simplicity, foresight, forecasting. It's the same thing. It's just one is I'm looking out the front window, and one is I also have a GPS on, okay? Alignment and simplicity are what I call the twin sisters of optimization. Because sometimes to make things a path of least resistance, simple process for your customer, you're going to have to break alignment with your vendor or lender. And the reason for that is the market's always changing. Like if you look at a business as a table with 4 legs, then the problem with the table is the table's there to be a supportive surface to sit things on it. Imagine 3 cups of water, one called alignment, one called simplicity, and one called foresight. And then there's 4 legs, right? Well, what do the legs rest on? The market. Well, the problem with the market is it's always changing. So those legs better be kind of telescopic, going up or down, or the surface on your table is going to be moving. You're going to rock the boat. Those glasses of water might fall off, break, spill, whatever, and you're going to have pain. Well, when you take this formula, you've got to say, okay, well, what are the 4 legs? How do I make these adjustable? Well, we have to go learn the 4 core pillars of business: culture, clarity, capacity, and cash. Okay. And we probably don't have enough time to go over it on just say one podcast. It's probably more of a 6 or 8 hour course I'd have to throw in. But if you dive into culture, clarity, capacity, cash, and you really find out, okay, well, my problem, let's say it was alignment and simplicity. It was an optimization issue, whereas foresight's more of an exceptional energy. Whereas you have optimization energy, exception energy. To get into business, you better be exceptional. To stay in business, you better be optimal. Well, if we know it's an optimization thing, and then it kind of filters down, and we're like, okay, well, you know what? We have a cash problem. So it's cash. Right? It's not really culture, clarity, capacity, maybe affecting those, but the epicenter of this pain point is cash. Well, let's say we're measuring ROI, and we've started this business with 100 grand. Over the last 5 years, we've made $500,000, but we can't seem to get past that 100 grand a year mark. Well, then why are we looking at ROI still? Well, return on investment's a silly metric if you've already got your investment back. It's kind of like stroking yourself. You're just feeding your ego. What if we looked at the different metrics? What if we said, okay, well, maybe we should look at return on marketing, which is what should replace ROI. What is the cost of customer acquisition, and what is the return on marketing? What if we looked at, okay, well, what's the return on balance sheet equity? What's the return on debt or risk, right? If you balance return on balance sheet equity and return on debt, and you get those numbers the same, you're actually in what's called the perfected growth curve in your industry. You are growing faster than anyone anywhere in your industry because you balance these 2 returns. Okay, I have one company, we got 273% year-over-year growth. People are like, how are you doing it? I said, well, I balanced return on balance sheet equity and return on debt. The other ones are return on energy, return on time. there's 6 returns. If you're looking at the wrong one, you got a problem. And so you start going there and you're like, okay, well, I found out what I'm looking at. I was trying to figure out ROI. I should have been doing ROM and this and that, whatever, right? And then what can I change? Well, what's beautiful about this formula, Brett, there's 6 things in a business that can change. If I go into my wife's marketing, or not marketing, kind of marketing, if I go into her makeup drawer, I call it the marketing drawer, right? She's a beautiful lady, but makeup makes it look good too, right? So it is the marketing drawer. If I go into her makeup drawer and she's like, hey, go get me the mascara, but I'm going to probably alienate female entrepreneurs. I don't know what mascara is. I have no idea. I will be in there confused. There's probably 50 items, maybe more in that drawer. I'm screwed. I am done. Business doesn't have 50 items. There's not 50 dials. It's less complex than the dashboard on your car. It has 6. You can adjust price, product, people, place, promotion, or process. And you should always adjust 2 things, whichever one of the first 5 I said, and then process. Because we solve the problem that is, but we also solve the problem that caused the problem that is with the process, and we create a more automated system. And then you have a business that's an asset, not an obligation. And you start getting from that operational entrepreneur into entrepreneur, giving you time to go learn, scale, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's all about bringing the problems closer, the biggest ones, identifying them, running them through the formula, solving them. And that formula works at every single stage. You just got to be solving the right problem for the stage you're in. Most entrepreneurs are solving the wrong damn problem. They go hear some guru get on stage. This guru is at their investor philanthropist stage. Like, I own 2 airplanes, right? And I'm going to go like, hey, Brett, you need to buy an airplane. They're freaking amazing. You buy $1 million airplane, you get $1 million tax write-off that day. Year 1, accelerated appreciation. It's awesome. Every business owner's like, wow, that's so cool. I get to get on Instagram and take a picture in front of my airplane. No, dude, if you are an operational entrepreneur, you buy an airplane, that is the dumbest thing you could do. It's the right move at a different stage than what you're in. It's the wrong move today. And so most people are doing the right thing at the wrong stage. You identify the stage you're in and you use that formula to solve the problems you have today. And like, you can take any business from 0 to 100 million in 10 years. Any business. I don't care what you have. And I'd happily make a bet of $100,000 with somebody that thinks we can't. And bring your business today. And let's do it. But you got to follow everything we say, right? And you're going to be giving me 100 grand in 10 years. You can take any business that passes a business litmus test.
Right. Where there's a viable market, right?
Yeah. And I have a litmus test for it. There's sure. 3 things you got to pass to be a business. But you can take any business to 100 million in 10 years. People will often overestimate 1 year, but they'll dramatically underestimate a decade. Any business can go to 100 million in 10 years. And so if you just solve the problem for the stage you're in, using that formula, articulately and intelligently, getting rich is easy.
And there you have it. Well, I hope it's not an overreach, Preston, but I'd love to include, you held up a formula, you mentioned others. I'd love to include whatever you think would be appropriate in the show notes that people can go and look at and say, okay, I heard Preston using all this language. There were stages and formulas, but I'd like to get a little bit of visual, and we can just put them in whatever you're comfortable sharing. We can put in the show notes and people can check it out there.
My belief, Brett, is the gym should be free. If somebody wants to work out and improve their health, and I'm not talking the gym that some entrepreneur invested in. I had some idiot go after me the other day. But if you want to go work out, you can walk outside and take a run. But if you want personal training, I think you do coaching. I do coaching. Like lots of folks that have track record do coaching, and that's a good thing. And people should be paid for that. But I give all this shit away all the time. I think entrepreneurship will improve the world and can save and change the world and get us out of a lot of the problems we have. Capitalism, for all of its flaws, happens to be the best system there's ever been, right? So weird. If people had a simple formula and were like, holy shit, what if getting rich was easy? What if I could have that life that I watch on TV instead of all the bullshit that I got to deal with within an education system that frankly doesn't teach people how to go out and make money. They teach you to earn money. I think earning money is slavery. Earning money is modern day slavery. If you're earning money, how many people are earning a baby? You don't earn a baby, you make a baby, right? You don't earn a baby. So if God made us in his image, and I think he did, then he made us creators. Entrepreneurship is creation. So yeah, I give it all away. If people want coaching, call me, but otherwise, if you want the formulas, I'll have Viviana send you all of them.
That's fantastic. All right, Preston, if you look back in your own entrepreneurial journey, right now you have the 18 companies. Let's just go back to company number 1. Or let's go back to the one that you feel that you learned some of these scaling lessons in the most. And if you just pull a nugget out that says this was probably the most important lesson for me to learn at that stage. When you're past that million, when you're feeling that like it's all on me, I got to figure out how to change this up or it's going to crush me. You remember that time?
Oh gosh,
Just
I
one
got
lesson.
I got one lesson that comes in the form of a story, but it's politically incorrect as they come. I mean, how authentic am I allowed to get here?
You can be authentic.
Okay. So
You're a guest. You get to be yourself.
hey, I always like to ask because, like if there's people that are easily triggered, tell them to put their fingers in and out of their ears really quick. That way they won't have virgin ears, because I'm going to tell a story and it's true and it probably saved all of my companies.
Okay. Well, we like those stories.
Yeah, but it's politically incorrect. So full disclosure, if you're easily triggered, hang up now. Don't listen to it anymore.
Fair warning. Fair warning has happened.
When I took over Zia Homes, like I bought it from a seller who's a friend, but he was in a bad situation. 300,000-400,000 in debt to his subs, and like not enough cash in the accounts to make another mortgage payment on the debt, anything. Years and years of bad operations. And he finally convinced me. He said, dude, I'll give you the company. I was like, no, it's not worth it. I don't want your company. And then he said, I'll loan you the money to pay back the subs and I'll give you 50 grand. And I was like, you're going to pay me to take your company? And I wanted to be a builder, but I was okay to start it. I wasn't going to like start upside down, but there were assets in the company and a lot position, other things. And I was like, okay, well, I can maybe overcome the brand and you're going to pay me 50 grand. Like, okay, that gives me a few months of at least a debt service. At that point, they're doing 30 homes a year and the product was, and they had a bad CEO. So I went in, I took the company, I took his 50 grand. I fired everyone except the girl that you saw earlier, Viviana. She's now my CEO. She was the secretary. Now she's making millions of dollars a year. And it was an incredible journey, like getting with my wife and Viviana. We redid the product, redid everything. We had these beautiful new floor plans, all these amazing amenities. We were the lowest priced product on the market with more amenities than what the custom homes had. But nobody would show our homes. The realtors wouldn't show our homes. And the buyers, if they saw our Google and Facebook and Yelp reviews, would not go into our home. Like, so if somebody did walk in, they would buy ours because we were in these little model home complexes, but we would watch the realtors walk by ours to go to the next one next to us because the brand was so bad. And so I have 70 or 80 homes under construction. I owe at this point, I don't know, $12-15 million. It was enough to take my other companies down. I didn't have the cash in the bank to pay it off, and I couldn't sell a home. And I meditate in water, and I'm sitting there, and I think I have some Trulies, and I'm sitting in a hot tub or a river or something, and I'm drinking Trulies, and I'm like, man, I need people to come inside this home. Anytime they come inside, they buy. Like they see the value. Like we've hit the value, but I can't overcome the bad brand that I bought. And I was like, how do I influence people? What do I need to do? And so I take out a pen and paper and I'm sitting there and I'm kind of sitting there trying not to get my paper wet. And I'm like, okay, well, what influences people? And I write down, well, it's what already influences people. What triggers people? It's what already triggered them. If you get triggered by a certain thing and I say that thing today, you'll get pissed. And I say that thing tomorrow, you'll get pissed again, right? That's just your pattern. And so that's kind of the psychology part of it coming out, right? Yeah. And I'm like, how do I use this in mass? I said, okay, well, what are the big triggers? And I write down controversy. And I'm like, okay, check the box. Love him or hate him, Trump got elected because of controversy. But it's a double-edged sword because he got unelected in all probability because of controversy, right? And I said, okay, well, sex appeal. Wow. That one's a win. Like nobody's going to say that sex does not sell. It does sell. And what's the sexiest thing you can wear, by the way? A smile. You don't have to be ratchet with it, but you can be, right? Like if you think about it, one billionaire out there like has Virgin Airlines. And in England, that was a big deal. The sex appeal made him rich, right? And now he's going to space. Kind of fun. So I was like, okay, well, we got controversy. We got sex appeal. Oh, everybody talks about current events. I wrote down current events. And I said, ooh, humor and heartstrings, emotional connections. People are looking for any type of emotional connection, whatever it is. Every social media influencer will tell you, love your haters. You need them. They blow up your brand, right? So I have these 4 things and I'm like, okay, that's good, but it's not enough. I was like, brand and call to action. We are tribal individuals. We're tribal human beings. And I love formulas. And this one's in the documents that you're going to get. Okay. So in this formula, I give 30 points to brand and call to action. Like I'm an Apple user. I used to be a Droid user, right? And you know what's funny about us Apple users? Like I go to my Droid user friends and I'm like, did you ride a horse to work, you loser? And it's playful, but we are a cult. We're a cult of Apple users. So brand and call to action, we're tribal. It's a real thing, right? And so what are your brand and call to action? I want people to come inside the home. I got this beautiful home, people walking past. Well, I write 20 points for controversy, 20 points for sex appeal, 20 points for human emotions, 20 points for current events. I give 30 points to brand and call to action. And I get a girl in a pretty red dress to stand out front of one of my homes. This is during the Jeffrey Epstein trials and all of this, where everything's going on in the market. It's a bad time. And I get one of those little realtor A-frame signs. And I put it out there in front of her, only it's not one with an arrow. It says COME, come inside me, which is all I wanted people to do. I wanted them to come inside the home. I didn't spell it wrong. It wasn't the lewd or crude way of spelling come. It was a call to walk inside the home, come inside me. But when you're standing there with a pretty girl, let me tell you, I got 40,000 views in an hour. There was hate coming from everywhere. And I did learn a really good lesson that sexually repressed people do not buy houses. But what I did learn was people thought it was funny. People thought it was something that made them angry. But the angry people blew up the brand, and the people that thought it was funny showed up. We sold 6 houses the next day. We wound up with millions of views on one Facebook post. And this became a marketing grading scale that I have used now since then. Now, I need to put a full disclaimer. I do not recommend going to that level. When I was sitting in that like hot tub or river or wherever I was, I knew I was 3 months from bankruptcy. If you're 3 months from bankruptcy, go to an extreme. You don't need to get 110 points. But if you use this scale driving down the highway and you're looking at, say, I don't know, a Rolex ad. Okay, well, it's a watch. Now, if there's a Rolex ad with a beautiful woman standing there or a nice, handsome gentleman standing there smiling, oh, okay. Well, the watch, the brand, and call to action, you have 30 points. If you got 30 in grade school, which is called grade school because you get a grade, you'd never have gotten out of grade school. But we don't grade our marketers. So when I look at marketing, I sit there, okay, controversy 1 to 20, current events 1 to 20, human emotions 1 to 20, sex appeal 1 to 20, brand and call to action 1 to 30. And I will grade every single one of those on every piece of marketing that goes out of any of my companies. And sometimes we're playful and sometimes we're a little lewd. We don't go quite as crazy as that, but people see it and people crave authenticity, especially in a market where cancel culture has been so loud. And so it turned around and it blew up a company. Now we are the largest builder in our community and we have a playful brand. We don't go that far, but on our signs, we do say, be the sexy neighbor. You know, we don't think it's a bad word. And so it's exploded our brand and what we did having a marketing grading scale. It was that business got so big, so quick from a debt proposition, it could have taken me down. And it turned into the one that was my first company to go over $100 million in net worth, all because I took a risk that I probably never would have taken had I not been right about to go bankrupt.
Well, that's a great story. And I appreciate the, all the disclaimers on the front end for people who needed that. But the thing is, it's real. You were in a real situation and you came out of that with a new formula. I can tell you're a formula guy. I love that. You've said as much, but what you've done is taken real life situations in your business experience and said, how do I deal with this? What's the structure? What's the model? What's the formula? And you rinse and repeat on those formulas, and apparently it does pretty well. Your 18 companies do over 100 million. It sounds like one of those may carry the lion's share of that, but that's awesome and way to go. And thank you so much for being part of our show today. For people to learn more about what you teach, connect with you, Preston, where would they go? How would they connect with you? How would they find you?
Any of my social medias, but probably the easiest way is my website. It's just www.theprestonbrown.com. And that's linked to all my social medias and everything else. If you want to message me, we'll send you the documents. I'm going to have Viviana provide them all to you, and they can get them right here as well. But man, I just wish tremendous success on everyone out there. There is no reason why everyone that is out there hustling and chasing it cannot have it. And if you do it formula driven, it's going to make it that much easier.
Well, it certainly makes it more repeatable and makes it to where you don't have to wander around trying to figure it out. Like you're given a path and some structure. I love what you said earlier in the podcast, and it probably wasn't even a highlight in your mind, but I love that you talked about us as human beings, as creators. I share the belief that entrepreneurs are the ultimate creators. There's no reason we shouldn't be doing everything we can to help every entrepreneur grow that thing. And we get in our own ways as business owners, as entrepreneurs. Too many of the times, it's just not knowing how to make it work. And so I appreciate you sharing some of your formula, some of your experience. Thanks again for being with us today, Preston.
Thank you, brother. It's a privilege.
All right. So this is another great episode of the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast. Please share it, like it. We want to help as many 7-figure business owners as possible learn valuable lessons from our guests like Preston. So be with us next week. We'll have another great guest and keep growing your business.
You've been listening to the Elite Entrepreneurs Podcast with your host, Brett Gilliland. Be sure to leave a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. You may also want to visit our website, eliteentrepreneurspodcast.com, to find additional resources to grow your business from 7 figures to 10 million and beyond.